Former Bacolod Bishop Antonio Fortich once described Negros Island as a social volcano waiting to explode anytime. Social inequities, anchored on the sugar industry, the backbone of the economy in this island, are to blame, he said. Today, we take a look at this issue, insurgency in Negros Island, and why it continues to persist. For half a century, Negros Island had been in the middle of a war, especially in Negros Occidental, home to sugar barons of the sugar industry. Recently, events in Gurungan City, Oriental Negros have once again shown that the insurgency is still alive. Gun battles erupted in the upland villages of Trinidad and other nearby barangays. Today, on our pilot episode of Tap, Rock, and Bang, we will discuss Crimson Dreams and Rouge Promises. Diin na kita pakadto. Ang sugar industry padayon bala nga nagaatubang krisis? May ara bala sang rason nga ang pumuluyo mag-intra sa armadong rebolusyon. This is an attempt to make sense of what is happening in Negros Island. Joining me today are our co-hosts. We have Councilor Victor Espino, public servant of Bacolod City, and we have retired Army Captain Jose Carlos Coruña of Downrange Daddy, a self-defense class that teaches marksmanship and survival skills even to children. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good day gali kay wala ni time mo no. Anyway, your thoughts please. I'm sure you've heard about developments in Gihulngan, gun battles, and I'll have Kayo first. Captain Coruña, by the way, his nickname is Kayo. Sir Kayo, sir, first of all, what were your impressions?
We'll always have battles to fight. And most of these battles come from experiences of unfair treatment, favoritism. So it doesn't come to me as a surprise that some of our fellow countrymen, our fellow Negrenses now, will have grievances against, well, the father or the mother, or in this case, the government. And when you fight back, when you rebel, you usually have an end goal. And that end goal is really to make known how you feel. And when these traditional avenues, okay, of grievances are not available, then people take up arms. So, though for me, it's like a family. Kung hindi mo pakon ang problema sa isang makabata, no, they will end up rebelling, and that's exactly what's going on, no? Not just in Gihulngan, but all over the country. No? People have battles to fight. They have grievances to air out. So, mula na siya nga akong nga take dira, sir.
In case you are wondering nga nakabati ka mo sang lupok sang pusil, it's because we are at the numeral impact recoil gun range or NIR Shooting Range sa Santa Fe, diri sa Bacolod. And we have Councilor Espino. Councilor, your thoughts?
My thoughts are, being exposed as my family, I am a third-generation sugar farmer. With my family or invested in the sugar industry. Ang ikadua, I have also been exposed to these types of the grievance as Sir Kayo has so eloquently spoken of. No? Ang number one, I was raised by my father, Attorney Alex Espino, to be immersed in the issues of the day, no? Most especially during the time nga in the prevalence of lakbayan. I know that you're familiar with it. We were, as kids, exposed to this. Nag-upod kami from La Castellana. It was a nationwide, it was an island-wide effort of to raise awareness for our peasant farmers in the mountains. No? Ang natabo sa to, there was an effort coming from La Castellana, and this was going to be a trek from La Castellana going to Bacolod City. Ang maupod sini from Escalante going also to Bacolod City, and Kabangkalan going to Bacolod City, with La Castellana and Kabangkalan merging in the city of, in the municipality of Pontevedra. Dito kami nagkitanay. So we were exposed to these types of situations wherein ang grievances sang aton nga peasant farmers in the mountains ginpabutsyag sa gobyerno. So I was exposed to that. So nakita ko, I've seen with my own two eyes how people react to government at the time when government was just for a certain sector of our society, as opposed to government for everybody else. No? So nakita ko na. But now, after the romanticism and the how do you call this, the exposure that I had with these social actions at that time, it gave me inside knowledge of anong nagakatabo sa Negros, no? And subong, this has been applied, subong, that I sit on the family board of directors running our own sugar farm, no? Lain na ang kausa sa sanguna kag sa subong, because now the sugar industry is not composed of the sugar barons of old, no? And the Department of Agrarian Reform and SRA will tell you that 89% of our sugar farmers are the marginal farmers or the ARBs, no? So there is only a 91% participation of the big landed sugar barons of old. And ang bilin sini sa una, when you say sugar barons, they controlled thousands of hectares. Now ini ang 91% that compose the big planters, so to speak, only are families that control 100 hectares to 500 hectares. So hindi mo na sila ma-consider as sugar barons, no?
Bali naghalin ka sa section sang Negros Society nga isa sa mga ginasinggitan sa to.
Yes.
Ikaw ang ara sa feudalismo.
Ara kami sa feudalismo, but at the same time, we were exposed to the fact, no? Because my father was always a how do you call this, a defender of people's rights, so to speak. So kami, he did not want us to be in that part of society nga oblivious to what is happening around. So naging abrihan niya ning mga mata namon by way of exposing us to these social actions at the time. So ang difference sa sanguna kag sa subong, sanguna ang nakita ko, the movement was funded by the cause, no? May kausa sang una. Subong, and you can read it on the news, I've seen intelligence reports that ang pinakadako nga contributor subong sa ining armed struggle sang NPA, NDF are not even the sa una ginatax kami, no? Ginatax ang mga sugar barons or the big landowners. Subong the primary source of income of this armed movement are the telecommunications companies, no? So number one nila subong they get their money out of extortion. So there is no cause anymore. There
Ako
is
na mong
only
ilang nga kausa, digital na. Digitally funded.
Digitally funded. Oh, so subong the thing is, as opposed to before, may kausay. There was oppression in the countryside, and the grievance that Sir Caio was talking about, and I've seen it with my own eyes, was true. Subong niya, sorry to say it, but subong ang ginaubra nila, subong, it's not even a causa anymore, it's not even a cause, it's business already. No, because as I understand it, the reports that I've read, the telcos fund almost 800 million pesos a year to extortion money sa sining mga armed groups.
Pila?
And that is mga 800 million pesos
A year.
A year, because they have five access to funding. And number one are the telcos. Number two is not even the sugar farmers anymore. It's the mining companies. And in Mindanao alone, the mining companies contribute by way of funding the extortion activities, but they don't call it extortion, they call it revolutionary tax. And that amounts to about 400 million pesos, and that's just one part of Mindanao, no? And mining companies contribute greatly to that. So mga sobra na sila 1 billion. It's not even the cost anymore. It's all about economics.
Before I go to that, Councilor, full disclosure para sa aton nga mga viewers, I used to be Secretary General of Bagong Alyansang Makabayan. It is a left-leaning organization, and as a reporter over 20 years, I have covered the insurgency. Simpleng istorya, nakasaka ko sa unang sa bukid, naka-istorya NPA pati ang masa. I go back to Captain Kayo. Sir, sang soldado ka, ano ang description sang Negros ang una? Init gid man ang Negros.
Well, newly graduated second lieutenants were so afraid to be assigned to Negros. Okay? Opo, because,
Tell us more about that.
Well, I don't come from that generation anymore. Most of the second lieutenants at that time who were assigned here are probably retiring soon, or in the next 2-3 years. But I have heard from, well, Army urban legends, that you would not want to be assigned in Negros, and if you were assigned in Negros, you would not want to be assigned in the Chicks area. So it's what Kalinga was during a time, it's what Holosulo and Basilan were at a time, and ever since the 80s, kusog ginadiyang insurgency sa Negros. You don't mess with Negros. No? Well, sugar barons or otherwise, you don't mess with Negros. So, but then again, these are just things that were handed down to me. Because when I joined the army, way after Mascara and all that. Yan po.
But how do we make sense of this? Kay now, ang debate is like Undersecretary Badoy nag-insist nga it is not actually the social conditions that push people to take up arms, but radicalization.
Yes.
And then of course, ang left will still insist that it is because of the prevailing social conditions. I understand what they mean, of course. As I have said, I used to be an activist. But kung kita looking at it objectively, although we cannot say nga objective kita sa Negros because it is highly polarized.
Yeah.
Either you are left or you are right. And I don't know if we can start a movement nga we look at things relatively from the center. I don't know. Pero how do we make sense of this, Councilor?
Well, you attack it from if you dissect a how do you call this a question such as this, no? Because you have to go to the roots. Sa una ako exposed ko sa, again, I'll tell you, with the social actions that the people participated in during the day. And this was the time that Sir Kayo was telling us nga, amunay, I have an uncle who was a commander of the NPA, di ba? Si Kaiko de Mariveles. And I have first-hand accounts nga naghambal gid siya that they had, at the time, 2 battalions, armed battalions in Negros. So at that point in time, hapos sila mag-recruit. Subong niya, the recruitment is still there, but of course, we have our young ones who are romanticized by being not an insurgent, but the young ones that nga nagapati nga may kausay. But if you look at or dissect the question from its roots, sa subong, ang kausay hindi na mo mangayo ka to sa telco sa 800 million ang tuig, no? 800 million a year. And even the party list groups are even, I think, the last 4th or 5th source of, they call it, they call it as corrupting the institution. So it's even the 4th source of income or funding that these groups are utilizing nowadays. So kung lang taon mo, there is no cause already, so to speak, sa nga parehas ang una. Na makita mo sa bukid, ng tao hindi mo na kinanlan. Because there was no form of government to speak of in the hinterlands of Negros at the time. Ako, I still am exposed because I live part of my life in the mountains of Murcia, and makita mo ang difference ang una kag sa subong.
I would always like to look at things from a nuclear point of view. When I say nuclear, what is society composed of? Diba? Other than individual persons, we are composed of families. So if you go to the nuclear cause, you look at the families of these people joining, you don't see happy families happily sending their kids out into the armed revolution. You don't see happy families enjoying living apart from each other. Diba? And you don't see families who love each other, diba? Not mind their kids, not give them proper guidance. I come from a very loving family. I thank my mom and dad for loving me, my brother. And I never saw revolutions or fighting back or going up against parents as a solution to solving my own problems, even as a child growing up, no? So, also, a person's understanding of the political spectrum. Because like you said, nadula ang kausa, di ba? Well, I would say that people actually don't have a cause because they don't know the political spectrum. They most probably mistake fascism as communism and communism as fascism when we both know that they're on different sides of the spectrum. And when we were having a conversation earlier, I always believe that, you know, it's like a stage play, the fascists and the lefts, di ba? When the curtain drops, they all meet backstage.
My interesting theory nga, the founders of fascism were actually Marxists.
Yes.
They all came from the left. But then again, that would be a deep philosophical discussion na, no? But in the meantime, this is our pilot episode and this would be our brief discussion about insurgency in Negros. Damo pa ang masunod. Kaping kayo, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very
Would you
much,
like to
Sir
add
Julius.
something briefly?
No, thank you for inviting me over, and I'm actually learning a lot from Sir Alas.
Councilor.
Oh, well, thank you, and we hope that this has been informative. No, but Negros is still a hotbed for that. No, I know that as a matter of fact, ako, because of my refusal, my personal refusal to give taxes to the movement, no, 3-4 years ago, our tractor was burned down, no, as a form of retribution, abi, for our
Disputiko
denial
nga agalon
of.
may duta ka.
Ha?
Disputiko nga agalon may duta.
I just work for the family.
Employee.
So, ang natabo was, they burned down a tractor as a statement, no? Nga hindi ka magbayad, you will face the consequence. So, I see that, no? But then again, ang kausa sa unaya, I would have freely given to the cause if you see nga may ara rason, no? But then again, subong wala na eh. Even the people in the hinterlands now freely gave their manok, their bugas, kung mag-abot niya ang mga kaupod. But sa subong, nabudlayan ng tao because they are now looking at their families to feed. And it's easier now for them to economically survive than before because we have better roads, we have better infrastructure serving our people in the countryside. Even justice, subong. Because I have been subjected also to revolutionary justice at one point in my life. And sa subong, our barangays are, give it to them, are working in this level. No?
Yes.
May kausa ka eh. Ako, I've been summoned also to the barangay by people and I happily attend. No? Ako, I participate in these actions because I know it can help not just the local community, but it can help also bolster the effectiveness of our local political system. Nami ito nga exercise. So I participate in these actions of even the lowest part of our political systems. So nakita ko nga may improvement. Subong, the causa is there. They are being romanticized by, of course, the perpetrators. We hope that our people will understand where this is coming from and pag-intentinaro ng ining klase sa mga giyo.
Taprak and Bang will be a regular show here on DNX and we will discuss everything from politics to defense, anything under the sun, including the sun itself. And of course, our views will be from the left, the right, and the center as we try to make sense of what is happening in our country. This has been Julius Mariveles and I am with
Victor Espino,
Carlos Coruña.
Thank you so much. With Banjo C Hinolan, Julius Mariveles for DNX News.